Welcome back to fans, Lazygamer here. I've gotten a few requests on making a more in-depth video on creating two-story houses and similar in the builder, so I guess I will follow up on that here. This is nominally part of the 3D floor series, and since I have covered how to create 3D floors before, I will not go in depth on that here. I will cover it as a part of the video itself, but people watching this should have a basic knowledge of the GZDoom builder and its general users, and also what 3D floors are all about. All of that is covered in other tutorials on this channel, so in other words, this is not a video for beginners, and I suggest they start at the beginning. But anyway, let's get started. Alright, so there are a few ways of setting up what you could call a building. Working by myself, I can do some experimenting and figure stuff out, but to show how to do it in a comprehensive manner, I will try and go at it in a logical fashion, in my meandering way, obviously. We have an area, outside area, with sky and a boundary. Of course, a wall with no textures like this will show the skybox if one is present at the top. So when we play this map, this will be sky also. As for the house area, I will have a flat roof. You can have you can create a sloped roof, but that will not be covered in this tutorial, showcase, or whatever you want to call it. Let's start by creating another boundary. However, I will not actually place in the walls yet. We will start with the 3D floors sections, which is the bigger part of showing how this works. So let's start with creating a square, or an area in which to work. Let's try this. Yeah, I'm trying to follow the blue lines, which encompasses 64 by 64 area, though the grid is at 16 by 16, which we shall use to create the wall of the building. So it's a 16 pixel area, as you can see here. Pressing H to turn on and off the highlights. We will not, however, I'm using the outside, so I have a full inside area to work with. Makes it easier for me, at least in this tutorial. Now, right now this is just shell. And like I said, I will not raise this yet. I will do that last, though you can if you want to, but it makes working on the inside a bit easier, I have found. So we will create a first and second floor. This area is 0 to 256 pixels, or sizes. Sizes should be pixel accurate, at least originally it should be. So the first ceiling should start at 128, or at least the floor of the second floor should start there. But to make a floor in the first place, we will not place. We will need a sector. This sector, which is the boundary room or house we created, create a tag. We could start with 1, certainly, but I like to have a bit of space between tags for other things. Though I believe tags between things and areas and lines do not cross, I would try to keep them separate anyway. So I'm going to, since I'm not going to add anything here, I don't need to go that high, so say 50 to start with. So we have an area sector with a tag of 50. Let's add a dummy sector outside in the void. Let's start with, it doesn't need to be this big, but to manipulate it, let's go with 64 by 64. You can work with this in visual mode, and we will, but first we will add a line. Give it an action of 160, which is sector set 3D floor. We will choose the tag we previously selected, and type shall be the standard 1 solid with no additional frills or flags of any sort. Opacity at full, it will not be transparent. Let's see how that looks. It's a big box in my garden, in my outside area. That's not good. Control C and the middle mouse button. So let's see, select the edit of the sector, the dummy sector rather. So I want the ceiling height, the one which we are going to stand on the second floor, should be 128, and it should be 4 pixels maybe, or 4 less, so 1. Actually, let's go with 8, so 120. That should look better. Now, this first floor, second floor should of course have a texture to stand on. Some carpets would be nice. Maybe. Let's see. Where is... There we go. Floor is now ceiling, or ceiling is floor, I don't know. Again, can have the same here. What should the ceiling be? Yeah, I could just leave that. Let's see. Should really use a flat. Oops. We don't need to with GZDoom builder. Doesn't really matter texture balancing here, though. Should use base maybe to have a bit more choice. This one maybe. That's fine. It doesn't really match, but whatever. Just as a side note, any texture of the sides of a 3D floor will only be this one, because it's an outside area, inside so to speak. So it will just, so if I put a second random texture here, it will not show up here. Let's use that one instead. You will now notice that the dummy sector now has that texture here as well. So any other textures on the 3 other walls will not appear. You also see that bottom is at the top because it's backwards for some reason. That's why I like to add the textures here, so that there will be no confusion. If I try to add it here, the bottom would be the top, obviously, and so on. Now, you can, in theory, just copy this sector and move it up with the same tag. However, I am going to copy it. That's true. But I am going to give it the tag of 51. And we are going to add a second tag to this area with this plus icon here. And we're going to name that 51 as well. And when we now select top and bottom, can with the scroll wheel move it up and hit the ceiling, which is here. Yeah, I will not make the roof climbable in this sector. We need to raise the ceiling. And that's not part of this. this is how to make multiple floors, as it were. Now, next problem is, how do we get from the first to the second floor other than making a doorway? I am going to make a new area. Doesn't need to be that big. Like so. Maybe. It doesn't need to be that wide. Doesn't matter. That changes nothing. However, select this sector and remove the 50 tag. You can select the tags here. Select this 50 and delete it in this area. When we now go back in, we will have an opening here, while the roof is still intact because that's a different tag. Actually, it's a different dummy sector altogether. That's how you can. That's one way of using multiple tags in the same sector, which is genius. To get up, we will need staircase. Sorry, I had to sneeze. There is a easy way of making staircases with stair sector builder. You can select a sector or a line. Let's select a line for this. We will get this. And you can see it's already made one step. I think I need calculated 8 steps with 16 heights to reach the top. Maybe only 7 if I use the first step. Let's see. Let's see if that works actually. Let's say that wasn't my intention. 7 steps. No, I have this. I have the space, so let's use 32. Front and back is related to the tabs, and it's pointing this way, so it goes this way. If I reverse it, it goes the other way. I can raise the base by 16 and modify the rest by 16 concurrently. So the top first is 32 and the last should be 128. Perfect. It's as if I planned it that way. Now it should show staircases up to here. Now I can either raise this area or I can add in the 50 tag again. Now if I was doing this for myself, I would probably just add it so I had an area under there, but for this purpose, this time I'm just going to raise this so we can walk in. I'm going to create a wall here later to cover this area. It's a stairwell access area. Well, I don't need to do that on that side. I can press Alt to even out. Damn it. I do need I think I do need one more step. That's no problem though. I'm just copy, paste, and lower, and there we go. Let's see. We need a wall texture here. Wasn't there? I saw it a minute ago. There it is. Use this. And then, well, it's fine, I guess. There we go. I'm going to add a wall that's going to go all the way up from the floor. So this is not going to have any tabs. So I can erase it. Does it? Right. No, actually. It's just going to go there. Never mind. I am going to extend it all the way there. Change the plans. Let's add back in 50. 51. There. So far, so good. Shift A to align vertical and horizontally. And we just add some more textures. Like so. Fine. Remove 50. And then add to the top. Now, that looks okay, right? Right, now we have first floor and the second floor. It's a big room though, so let's let's have a corridor here. Otherwise, let's get these in three areas by doing this. We are going to need 2 door frames, 64 and 64, and we should raise these areas by 120, which should hit the roof of this, like so. We have two rooms, bedrooms or kitchen and well, whatever you want it to be, really. And I'm gonna make some slight alterations to make it look slightly different, like so. Now those walls are created from the ground 0 floor. We could just put them through and make the second floor like this also. However, those would make both floors look the same. But I want the second floor to just be 2 larger rooms. So let's find the middle, more or less. It doesn't need to be the exact middle, but that's how I do it. Incidentally, when you create, you can have as many floors as you want, as long as you make the room for it. But you should work from the floor up. So first floor first, second floor second, and so on. And it shouldn't be too convoluted unless you can have it all in your head what it's supposed to look like. So this will be the third floor separation. It will also need a 64 door frame, I suppose. And these selections shall have a new tag of 53, I guess. Oh, yes. No, 52 will do. I can't count, apparently. And that wall will be another dummy sector, which will we will place here. $160, 52, and the rest will be the same. And it should have a height, ceiling. Well, it can be whatever. Floor height is actually just perfect, to be honest. Placement is just perfect. There we go. Yeah, we'll work a bit more on the door frame in a second. It looks a bit odd. But first, I think we have our first and second floor areas complete, wouldn't you say? Alright, let's do something about those door frames. It seems like we would need some sort of a bit lower, it's a bit high door frame. It goes all the way to the ceiling. So we're gonna create one more dummy sector over here. And 160. 53 works this time. Now let's see. Where's my dummy sectors? I won't show yet, of course. Stupid me. This sector and this sector will need to have a new tag. 53, I suppose. There we go. Then we can work on our placements. That ain't that bad. I would have done that, and then like so. And we're going to copy that. Just change it to 54. And then where are they all hiding? There we go. And of course I never added the damn sector, did I? New sector, which is 54. Now we should have something to work with. Here we are. And we have our two floors with two separate dividers, and that's all fine. Well, let's put up the walls, shall we? We're gonna need an entrance. Let's put a door frame here to get in and out. You can add as many windows as you want, but I'm gonna add one as an example. You can have one on the first or second or both. I guess I'll add 2 windows for example's sake. Alright. Now, since this area is not to be anything special, I can select the area that's supposed to be a wall, and I'm going to press delete. You could just raise it if you want. We're going to make a void out of it. So if we go and look, it will cover what we need. We need a texture for it, which I have already chosen will be this. This is just to be a doorway. It could be actually, right. There we go. We could have a window here if we want, but let's not. Let's just lower it to the appropriate height. I will not add a door. You can. It needs some more modifying, and I have shown you how to make 2 floors. That will have to suffice for now. Now, if you just want window for the first, second story, you can just lower and raise the floor and ceiling respectively to make something like this. No 3D floor required. If you are going to have floor and ceiling over 2 windows, top and bottom, we're still gonna start with that. Like so. Then excuse me, something like this. However, we have a big empty space in the middle. Well, let's try copy this sector one more time and change it to 55, and then we will add make this sector 55, and then we have nothing much yet. We will need to find the center, like so. Lower it to an appropriate height. Not sure what's appropriate up here though. Suppose it should be a bit higher than that here. ish. Might not be the same height, but whatever. And we have some windows. So technically we now have a 2-story house that's ready to be furnished. Adding crates or furniture and stuff only needs some tweaking with the tags, so that they will not interfere with the other tags, which really should be easy, just a bit of fiddling with numbers and placement. As plug, I am working on a furniture prefab set. So please download the alpha for that if you want. Though currently they will only work for the first floor, sadly, because I was stupid making them. I am going to modify it sooner or later, but that's just an aside. I think I have covered the basics for how to create a multi-story building. This does not need to be a building. You can create maps with multiple floors in a normal map without having it as a separate area like this. But that's basically how we do it. We are going to test the map just to see that it works, but I am fairly confident it will. In the meantime, this has been your host, the Lazygamer, logging off. Bye guys.